Oh my God, you guys. I think I finally figured it out. God help us all. I really hope I figured it out. How are you? I'm really hoping that I figured this out and you guys can hear all the audio on this. I'm gonna be so mad if you can't. This is the fourth time I've tried to do this live today. So I'm gonna make this video, I'm gonna post it, and I'm just gonna hope to God that everything worked out. I think I fixed all the audio issues. So we're just gonna go with it. And hopefully we're all set. It's not too loud. There's not too many issues. I fixed my microphone. I think I have fixed the actual audio on the actual video. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to do just like a live reaction video to Jax putting out a video with Bravo Hot Mics. It's a podcast that is done by Alex Baskin, who is a producer of Vanderpump Rules and a producer of other Bravo shows as well. And I just kind of wanted to do a video reacting to this. I've seen clips, but I haven't watched the whole thing. I am obviously, if you've known me long enough now or followed me long enough, you know that I'm a Bravo Vanderpump Rules connoisseur. Okay, I'm an OG Vanderpump Rules lover. All right, so you can't tell me nothing. All right. I've been watching Jax from the get go. Okay. I've watched every single program that this man has been in, except for um I didn't watch um what is going on? Why are all my what is going on? You guys, I've been taken over. I'm being taken over. I generally don't think anybody wants me to succeed today. I'm like forcing to succeed in this video right now. Um, but I wanted to do a video talking about Jax's podcast video that he did because I've seen this man on like every single program that he's ever been on except for the one where it's like the liars, the villains, or whatever. That's the only one I didn't watch because I was like, I'm not watching this. Um, but yeah, I wanted to watch this video live with you guys and give you my live reaction and see what lies I think are being told in this video. Um, Jax is just somebody who you can't trust in any way, shape, or form. There's just some TV personalities that no matter what they say, I just assume everything they say is a lie, and he is one of them. And then I figured after, if my computer hasn't blown up and the world hasn't told me that I need to like stop being on live, apparently, I thought we could watch Brittany's video that she made 3 months ago on the same podcast. So hopefully the audio sounds good. Hopefully everything goes great because, like I said, I've tried to make this video. I'm not joking you 3 other times today, and so I'm gonna lose my mind if it comes out like crap. So let's all hope for the best. Okay.
This is the third time that you've been on this podcast, and each of them has been very different. You were just on a few months ago.
Each of them has been very different because each time I lied.
And you wanted to come on today because there's something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So really, I've been waiting for a long time to do this. Nervous.
I've been waiting for a long time to do this. No, you have not. No, you have not. This is the thing. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm not, I'm going to warn anybody that's watching this, whether that's currently or in the future. I am not very nice to this man on a regular basis. I say a lot of mean things about him. And at this point, I'm sorry. Like, there are actual people out there that actually want to get help and
And
actually want to be better people and are going to actual rehab and are trying to fix their lives. And this man right here is not doing that. Like, I can 1000 million% guarantee you that that is not going to happen. And that, Brittany is obviously going to continue to talk about him and say her piece on everything. I really hope she does keep speaking up because I want more people to understand that he is a liar and a manipulator. And I hope nobody is listening to him thinking that like, oh my God, this is the way to change this. No, this man has been doing this for decades. Okay. This isn't like a brand new like issue in his life where he just now starts lying. No, he's been lying for decades. Okay. And lying really, really good, but also lying like an idiot. So take everything that he says as a literal lie, not even a grain of salt. Take everything that he says as a full on lie.
I felt like, this was the time to do it. We have season 2 of The Valley coming out shortly. And I feel like sometimes because there's so many cast members that the whole story of each person is not told.
This is the thing is that he's doing this ahead of time because he wants to get ahead of the story. He wants to get ahead of what is going to be seen on the Valley because he knows this season of The Valley is going to be actual hell on his hand, and he's going to look like a miserable garbage human, and that they are going to show things that he can't control. He also likes to think that this show is his, that he is a producer on this show. He is not a producer. From what I know, he does not have a producing credit on this show. And he likes to say that this is his show, this is his show, this is his show. It's not his show. They don't edit it to make him look good. Nothing positive is going to come out of this, and they're going to edit the actual hell out of him to make him look the worst he's ever looked in his life. And that's just what's going to happen. Like that's what Vanderpump Rules and like the Valley editing is very different compared to a lot of the other shows. At least Vanderpump Rules. Vanderpump Rules is constantly in the archives. Okay, they love to show that you are lying. They love to show that you're full of shit. They love, 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 love doing that. And the Valley, pretty much from what I could tell, is kind of the same shit. And when you've been on TV for so long, there's a lot of places to dig up your lies over and over and over again. So he's just doing this because he knows the Valley is going to come back. And this season, he is going to look horrendous. And I think also he realizes that one of the big storylines is not going to be him. It's going to be Kristen, is my assumption, is that one of the major storylines will be Kristen and her fiance and them, you know, having the baby and things like that. Um, and I think that he doesn't like that because he's a narcissist. Like, I'm sorry, like I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, but this man I will fucking diagnose till kingdom come. And he wants to get ahead of it. That's all this is. He's just trying to get ahead of the story.
You know, fully. And I kind of wanted to come out and kind of talk about the struggles that I've been going through for a very, very long time. And I kind of wanted everyone to know, you know, this is what happened. I'm kind of coming. This is tough to say. So I am coming out that I'm an addict.
I'm coming out. I'm coming out that I'm an addict. What cracks me up, and like again, I just want to state for the record that I'm not speaking towards addicts. I'm not speaking towards people that need to go to rehab or have been to rehab or alcoholics or you know, people like I'm not talking to that community. I'm specifically when I'm stating my statements, I am specifically talking about Jax Taylor. Okay. I am not talking about the other people that work their asses off to become better people that have tried everything. Okay. That have really put the work in. I'm not talking about those people. Okay. I watch Peter Mon, and Peter Mon has been sober for 35, I think 35 years now. I'm not talking about people like him that put the work in. Okay. That recognize what's going on. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about this one individual human and his behaviors and how I think he's a crock of shit. He knows he's an addict. He's known he's an addict for years. Why? Because everybody and their fucking mother has brought it up to his face on national television, behind the scenes. Like everybody has told him that he has a problem and he does not listen to anybody. That's not to say that other addicts don't have the same problem. But again, I'm not speaking about other addicts and their experiences. I'm speaking about a man that has put his entire life on television and has showed us and has spoken and has voluntarily shown his life to us, which means I feel like it is valid to have a opinion on it. And in my opinion, this is a crock of bullshit. And to sit there and be like, I'm an addict. It's like, we know, we all know. You're the only one who has not caught up on that. Everybody else is caught up on that. And I do understand that there are people like, I don't know, I just feel like there are drug addicts, there are alcoholics, there are people that are having these problems and concerns, okay? And these diseases that are not narcissists, that they are just in the weeds, okay? And they're just dealing with a lot of horrible things. They're good people that have good intentions but can't get past this struggle in their life. Whereas there's people like Jax, which is I think a very small minority of addicts that are that use the addiction to play on people's emotions, that use the addiction to get a pity party, that use the addiction to make people feel bad for them and to get out of actually acknowledging their actual problems and getting down. Because from what I've learned from watching addicts and being around addicts and um, having people like that in my own life, is that there's a lot of self exploration that is done in order to really fix some problems. And I just don't feel like this human being is exploring anything. of himself at all. And why? It's like, oh, Sam, how do you like those of you that are new to school here? This man has shown us him at multiple therapists. He's been to Reiki, he's been to regular therapy, he's done it fucking all. And guess what? Every single time, he doesn't dig down deep. He doesn't give raw feelings, raw emotions. It's a bunch of lies, it's a bunch of BS. He very much says what he thinks the person in front of him wants him to say. It's just like this is a different prototype. Like Jack Sailor is a different prototype, okay?
Um, I have substance issues, primarily with cocaine. Um, ooh, that's hard to say out loud. Um, yeah, I've been dealing with this for, I think, the last on and off since I was 23. So I'm 45. So give.
Okay, at least I'll give him that. Okay, I will give him that he acknowledges time frame. Because I'm like, he's gonna be like, I've been dealing with it for like this amount of time. It hasn't. No, no, no. You've been dealing with it since you moved out to LA. That's when this all started. Was when you moved to LA is when this bullshit started. When you became a model, when you were living in Miami, like that's like when this lifestyle started. That's when this problem started. This man is from a podunk nowhere. Okay, I don't even remember where he's from. Somewhere in Florida, right? Um, and to me, like all these problems started when he went here. Now, my thing is now that he's admitting this out loud, again, we already knew this. We all knew. The audience knows. Okay. If you've been watching it, Vanderpump Rules has been around now for over what, 12, 13 years now, which is crazy to think about. If you've watched the show, like we all knew that he was an addict and he had a problem. My thing that I'm interested in seeing is we have James who has admitted he has a alcohol problem. I think he might have a drug problem too. But again, that's neither here nor there. But we've had James who's admitted and has gone to rehab, has gone out of rehab, has gone to AA, come out of AA, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Currently, I believe he is working a 12-step program doing that. He's no longer with Allie, all this stuff. So he's back into that. You have Lala, who has openly admitted and acknowledged her problems with drinking and has stopped drinking and has not drank for what, God, 5 years now, 4 years, something like that, has been sober for a good chunk of time. And there's been proof in the pudding of her. You can see a difference, whether you like Lala or not, whether she says dumb shit, whatever. Overall, you can see a difference in like substance abuse Lala and sober Lala. There is a difference, you guys. Whether you like her personality or not, whether you like the way she talks about shit, trust me when I tell you, these are two different people. Okay, so there's that. Jax. I'm interested to see if this rolls off of other people, like for example, Tom Sandoval, who I also think has a substance abuse problem. If you watch him on Traders, you don't have to be a psychologist, a scientist, a doctor to know that you're watching someone going through withdrawals on the Traders. So I'm interested to see if this will roll into other cast members admitting their problems. I mean, Stassi admitted that she had an addiction to Adderall, I believe is what it was. Um, I think Kristen on and off has admitted to her substance abuse problems. Um, so it will be very interesting to see what some other castmates say about this. Obviously, we're going to see this play out on the Valley.
Give or take. I've been, hmm, there's times where I would stop doing it, but then there was times where I'd go heavy on it. I think a lot of people who watched Vanderpump Rules over the years could kind of tell that I was on something.
Girl, kind of. There are some episodes where I'm like, holy shit, like raging crazy. Like when he had the whole episode where he was like, I'm the number one guy in the group. That was Coca. Come on, Coca, Coca. When he and was it whose engagement party was it? It was Katie and Tom's after the engagement party. They went to S.U.R and Jax and James like got into a beef and he wanted to beat the shit out of him. That was Coca. Coca? Like that's what that was.
Obviously production and people, they didn't know what I was doing. Everything I was doing is on my own.
No, we all know what you were doing. Production knew what you were doing. The cast knew what you were doing. We knew what you were doing. You've been called out on it multiple times. Andy Cohen has called your ass out on it. We've all called your ass out on it. We all knew. Again, Jax Taylor is the only human being that didn't know he had a problem with cocaine. That's it. He's the only one.
But I was just, you know, on that train and I couldn't get off. I couldn't get off. And then people ask, do you have an alcohol problem too? I don't necessarily think I have an alcohol problem, but the two go hand in hand. So
I agree with that. I actually don't think he has an alcohol problem either. I think that he has the cocaine problem, and then the cocaine problem leads him into the alcohol problem. And I do feel like if he could just kick this habit, then he could kick the other habit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Jax is an alcoholic. I think the cocaine is the main issue and main problem.
I can't do cocaine without drinking. So I just gave up both. And I'm proud to say I'm 82, 83 days sober right now, which is the longest I've ever gone in my life without either. So, well, not my life, without either. I'm sorry. This is the longest I've gone since I was 21 without, or just going this long without anything. And I got to say, it feels really, really good. But again, I just want to let people know, like, this is a really, really tough disease. And it's a really,
Can you imagine the first, like, isn't it like, I bet you like the first week, let alone, I bet you the first 48 hours feels like you are actually in hell, is what I have heard it being described, is that your body, because your body, if you've done it for so long, I call it pickling essentially, is that when you've done something at such a young age and you've done it for such an extended period of time, your body almost thrives off of it and needs it to survive and to live and to breathe. So when you take yourself off of it, your body goes into shock and doesn't understand what's going on. And that's why they tell you, like, if you're going to get off of drugs, get off, like, stop being an alcoholic, all these things, they, especially drugs, hard drugs, they tell you to kind of wean yourself off of them because your body needs them to live. Like, I remember my grandfather, who was an alcoholic, he was I guess what they call like a functioning alcoholic, basically. Like, I never saw him get angry. I never saw him like beat anybody up, like these stereotypical bullshit that everybody talks about alcoholics. Never saw my grandfather do any of these things. Um, but instead of going to get like a soda or a water, it was always beer. Every single time, it was just, he always had a beer in his hand. If he was driving, he had a beer. If he was working, he had a beer. If he was playing around the house with us as kids, there was a beer around. Always had a beer. And I remember 2 times that he stopped drinking. Both times he had a heart attack. And it's one of those things that he was drinking and smoking and doing all these things since he was a child, because back in the day, it was totally fine for children to like smoke and drink and shit. Um, so his body was so used to it that when it stopped doing it, it didn't know what to do. And so it rejected him and was like, no, 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 we don't, no, 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 we only know how to do this. I can't imagine what Jax was like the first like 48 hours of withdrawals and what that must have felt like and how horrible, because it also depends, I think, on, is he doing, like, did he come to this conclusion kind of already weaned off of it a little bit? Or was he full blown in it and had to get off of it immediately? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even imagine what that was like. And I will say, I think for some people, not all people, but I have seen a couple people in my life that having children actually changed their lives. And that's not to say that you should be having children in order to change your life. Like, your children shouldn't be a motivator for you to become a better person. Your children shouldn't be a motivator for you to stop doing these dumb things. Like, you should want that on your own. But I will say, I know a handful of people in my life that without children, I don't actually think they would be alive. Like, without kids, I don't think they would have a purpose to want to live, um, or a purpose to want to stop these horrible things they're doing to themselves. And, I hope that this is one of those circumstances that Jax is like, whoa, I don't have a wife anymore. I don't have my child anymore. Like, I'm losing everything. And it really sucks that you have to lose everything to really get it. And sometimes losing your partner isn't enough, but I know for some people losing their children is like a really big wake up call. And it just really sucks that children have to be that for somebody, because from what I know, Brittany has talked about how their child has special needs. What that looks like, I'm not sure. Um, and so to have a child that needs a lot more attention and support, and then on top of that, have a partner that also has a lot of demons and problems, Like, I can't even imagine what that feels like.
Really tough sickness, and it's I've been doing it for so long, and you can say hiding it, not necessarily hiding it, lying about it, um, forever. And I just had enough's enough. I mean, there's this year was probably the hardest year of my life. I would say my father's death was the hardest year until this year. I'm going through a divorce right now, which is extremely difficult. Um, and that's when Brittany and I um, separated. That's when the addiction got worse. Now I was always been doing it for a long time, but the addiction got worse during my divorce, during my separation. I literally lost control.
I believe that. I don't doubt that in any way, shape, or form. I believe that. Like, but at some point, I'm proud of Brittany because at some point you have to get off the ride. Especially when you have kids. It's, all I can say is that get off the ride before you have children. Because at least if you get off the ride before you have kids, you never have to see this person again. You never have to have anything to do with them ever again. If you have kids, though, it's a completely different ballgame. You're stuck, like Brittany's stuck with Jax for the rest of her life, for the rest of their child's life. Like, that's just sadly what happens when you have children. And I encourage people that if you are with a partner that has lots of issues or problems or concerns, um, to get those solved and fixed, or don't be with this person anymore, depending, obviously, everybody's situations are completely different. And to each their own on those, but don't have kids. Don't have kids if one of you are in active addiction or in active sobriety, are working through things. Like, give it some time, or accept that, you know what, maybe this is not the person that needs me and I'm not the person that needs to be with them, and find a way to move on. Because children, it, like, you'll never get away from this person. Like, and this is speaking from experience. I will forever be attached to my ex-husband no matter how much I do or don't want to be. It does not matter. We have a child together, so now we're essentially stuck together for the rest of our lives. And I can't imagine what that's like, being with somebody who was horrible to you, who was in active addiction and was struggling a lot. Like, I can't even imagine what that feels like. And the strength that Brittany had to finally be like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, I hope people acknowledge the strength that she had to leave a human being in active addiction, knowing that there is a massive chance that they could back spiral hard, they could end their lives. And the guilt you can feel from that. Like, I don't feel like people get enough credit for leaving people when their partner's in active addiction, because it's terrifying. Because I have had friends that have been with people that have had these issues, and they always have said, I'm terrified to leave this person because I'm afraid what they'll do to themselves. And that keeps you there, and it keeps you in this cycle over and over and over again. And it's not good for you, but it's also not good for them either. It's not good for anybody involved, not just like the person that's not the addicted one. Like, it's for both of you, it's bad. And for Brittany to leave, also with having a child, I don't know how she did it. And the strength she has, I think, is so commendable. And I hope a lot of people are acknowledging that. I feel like a lot of people are, for sure. But man, oh man, like, I hope she knows how strong she is.
You know, I kind of, I think at a point hit rock bottom, and um, I had to go to rehab. That's kind of where we're at right now. And then I got out, obviously, and here we are. But yeah, yeah,
That's a lot.
that's all. I mean, we'll get into more,
Yeah.
but I mean, I just want to stop.
The other thing that I get worried about with Jax is that he is the type of person that replaces one addiction with another. And we saw that on Vanderpump Rules. So it'll be interesting to hear him, if he does, talk about what his coping mechanisms are, I guess.
Stop there for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, right. No,
That was a lot. I've never said this in my life. So to come out and say that I have an addiction, that I have a sickness, that I have to work on the rest of my life is a really big deal for me. Obviously, I think if people have known that there's something out, but for me to say it come out of my mouth it's a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Huge.
Good. And I know that you've wanted to be able to say this, but I know that you've also struggled saying it out loud.
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't think anybody would I think I would just say it and then I wouldn't really work on it. I think I've worked really, really hard on my sobriety. It didn't happen the first time. It, happened the second time. What I mean by that is I had to go to rehab twice, and we'll get into that later.
So okay, so because there was one time we know he went to rehab, and that's what Brittany called out as bullshit, and that he was rage texting her while because this happened during filming the first time. The second time, I'm not sure time frame wise. They'll probably talk about it, but the first time, I'm pretty sure if I'm correct, they were filming The Valley, season two, and he kept saying like he was, there doing his thing, being a happy guy, whatever, living his best life, was trying to fix everything. And she was like, no, you actually rage text me the entire time, were a complete ass to me, and told me these like asinine things. And apparently that's going to be captured.
Um, but yeah, yeah, it's just a sickness. It's a disease, and it's something that I have to work on for the rest of my life, unfortunately.
I want to focus to begin with on the second rehab stint, and we'll get into the first as well. What prompted you to get help the second time?
I got a lot out of it the first time, and then when I was out, I was like, okay, I can get this. There was an incident. Brittany and I were actually on their way to a doctor's appointment for our son, and her phone was connected to my car, and a man's name came up, and it just triggered me. I did slip after the first incident, and I did take substance the night before. And the next day is always the worst when you're after this. The next day is the worst. I lost it. I went crazy in the car, yelling. And the worst part about all of this, and this is why I checked myself in, is that my son was in the back seat.
Yeah. See, that's the part that again, I don't want people to get sober because of their children, because you should want to get sober for yourself. There should not be any other outside sources. You should want this for yourself, because what's going to happen is if that thing that you attach yourself to is gone, you're never gonna continue to be sober. If you're attaching your sobriety to another human being, what if that human being's not there anymore? You have to keep yourself sober for yourself. Like, they're good motivators, but at the end of the day, like, but I will say that sometimes loved ones, like children, sometimes they're genuinely the only thing that wakes people's asses up. It really, really is. And the fact, and I can't even imagine, because we've all had moments where we've said things in front of our kids, we've behaved certain ways in front of our kids that we don't wish we ever said and did with our partners and things like that. And um, it's not just detrimental to your kid, it's detrimental to you. Like, your brain feels different when you fuck up in front of your kids. So, like, I can't even imagine.
And that's when I knew. I'm like, I have a problem. It's still there. It's still there. Like, I was very aware. I was yelling, and then I turned my head and I see my son back there. I'm just like, this was just utter disgust, utter disgust. And Brittany was like, "You need to go back." And I didn't even put up a fight. Like, the first time I kind of put up a little bit of a fight. This one I was like, "You're right. You're right. I didn't put up a fight." I'm like, I gotta go back."
And then Brittany reached out to a few people, including Lori, your publicist, Ryan, your manager, and me. We talked about the incident. You agreed to go, and this was over the holidays, right? So it was a very
Wow. I'm really like, I'm like shocked with Brittany. I'm like actually surprised and shocked, just because she's been putting up with this for a very long time. And I'm proud of her for calling other people and not putting this. I feel like, and I haven't watched the video. I want to watch it if we can, if I have time, her version of the stories and things like that. But I I feel like she's been doing this on her own for so long, and for her to reach out to these very high people, like these very influential people in his life, I think is a very good thing, and I'm glad she did that. She didn't like just stay there by herself.
dark time for you.
I got out. Yeah, it was. Man, it was a very, very dark time. Yeah, I mean, again, worst year of my life. I can't even tell you. I got out. I didn't stay the full time. I ended up staying 17 days. I felt like, for me, that was enough. I was like, you know what? Another 14 is not going to do anything. I know that I'm good. I'm okay. I just needed to get back and be like, okay, for a second. I just needed to, like, okay, remember why you were here the first time. You're back here for a second, regroup, and then get back out there. And I felt, when I hit the 17th day, I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I'm done. I won't do it again. You won't touch. I'm done. I made a mistake, and I felt like it was the right decision for me at the time to leave right then. I was there on my own. I wasn't forced to be there, but I felt myself that I was ready to go.
I want to touch on a few things there. So, first is when you got the diagnosis. So when you were told at the facility, look, this is like, did you know going in that you were going in for addiction? Did you think you were going in for behavior? Because
All of it. All of it. I was going to get to the bottom of it. Now, when myself and my manager and Lori, we all kind of came together and researched where I was going to go. I have such a great team, and we say, hey, listen, this is the best place for you because it kind of talks about everything: mental health, substance abuse, drug addiction, all that stuff. You're going to get everything out of this, and that's kind of what I needed because I personally don't think that drugs and alcohol are the problem for anybody. There's issues there that there's issues with their lives, and then people use to kind of mask the issues that they're going through. I'm a firm believer in drugs and alcohol are never the problem. People just don't fix their problems, so they're too lazy, and then they use drugs and alcohol to mask their issues instead of.
It's not laziness. Just want to say it's not laziness. It's not laziness. You're not doing drugs and alcohol because you're lazy. If that was the case, then I would be a drug addict and an alcoholic because, bitch, I'm lazy. Okay. But I'm not. And it's some people can't fix their problems. Some people are become alcoholics and don't even realize they're becoming one. Like I've seen that before where because alcohol is so socially acceptable, you're out doing it and you're hanging out with your friends and you're having one cocktail, then you're having two, then you're having three. And then like you get on this spiral, you're having so many that your body gets used to it. And then you have to kind of up the ante and then you up the ante. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, I'm an alcoholic. What the fuck? Like it doesn't like a lot of these addictions, they don't just fucking like happen like in 2 seconds flat. You don't just wake up one day and you're sober and you wake up the next day and you're a fucking alcoholic or a drug addict. Like that's not how that works. Just want to put that out there.
Of fixing things. And that's was the problem. So I was in therapy the first time, 30 days, 7 hours of therapy a day for 6 days a week. I mean, it's intense. It's intense. And then you see doctors, and then you go to therapy, and then you go to personal therapy, then you go to group therapy, then you break for lunch, then you go for a walk, and then they allow you to go to the gym once a day. And there's a nurse that follows you to the gym. Like this was just utterly embarrassing for me because I'm going to Crunch Gym, which is a very big gym, and people know who I am, and they're kind of looking at me, but they also see this nurse walking next to me. So it was like, it was tough. It was very, very. It broke me down. I got a lot out of it. Yes, I did. I did slip when I got out the first time, but I learned so much the first time. It was my fault.
well, you weren't sober the first time, right?
The first time I went through, I stayed sober for I think like a week or two after,
Yeah.
and then I started slowly going back into the game again.
Well, the other thing, so it sounds like he wasn't in a like actual like staying there facility. It sounds like he got to leave and come back, and I feel like he's the type of person that like literally needs to be like locked into a facility. Like he's got to be locked and loaded. Okay, he's got to be in the facility. Okay, in order to benefit from it, in order to get anything out of it. And also, I think an accountability. He can't escape the accountability of the situation, which I feel like is something that he regularly does. Is he finds an out for any tough situation he doesn't want to deal with.
And I thought, okay, I can handle this. I can handle it now. I got a grip on it.
Because you were really at the time grappling with the bipolar diagnosis.
So we'll get into that. So when I went in, I've always known something is wrong with me. I'm a very stubborn guy. I don't go to the doctor. I'm like my dad. I don't go to the doctor unless my arm's falling off. I'll just put some bleach on it. You know, I refuse to go to the doctor for anything. I refuse to accept anything. I'm one of those guys, like if I have cancer, don't tell me. Like I don't want to know. And for years, I've known, everybody's told me, Jack, something's wrong with you. You're not all there, you know? And
Alex is like, yeah, we know.
And, you know, when my marriage was getting, it's been tough a lot, but when my marriage was getting really bad towards the last 3 years, Brittany's like, you need to go get some help. You need to figure out what is wrong with you. And, you know, just to kind of get her off my back, I went to a physician, not somebody who is studied in therapy. I just went to my family physician. I go, listen, my wife thinks I'm depressed. I am a little bit depressed. Can I have some medication for it? Sure. She just gave it to me. There was no diagnosis. I just
Like she wasn't a
assumed. I
psychiatrist.
self-diagnosed myself. I'm like, something's got to be wrong with it. I'm probably just depressed, which is true. I was very sad. A lot happened. COVID, pregnant. I lost my job. A lot was going on during the time of me going to see that doctor. Lost my job, going through COVID, and I didn't know what I was going to do for money. My wife was pregnant. I was depressed. And so in my head, I'm like, that's it. I'm depressed. Doctor, give me something for depression. Oh, here's some Lexapro. Went on Lexapro, didn't do anything.
That's another issue, and I feel like this is like an LA issue. Like the big thing for me is like where he is versus another problem. But I feel like he definitely lives in an area where a lot of it is a yes man thing. It's like, oh, you're sad, depressed here. And it's like, no, no, no. Like the pills only do so much. Like my ADHD medication and my anxiety medication, they only do so much. There's just another thing that kind of masks a layer of it. But if you don't get down and dirty in the actual problems and have the actual conversation with yourself of like, holy shit, what is wrong with me? And learn coping mechanisms that are healthy coping mechanisms, not unhealthy ones. And you have to have these really, really deep, dirty, down, gritty conversations in order to actually fix the problem. And when you have doctor, like if you are telling a doctor that you're depressed and their first thing is let's give you medication instead of being like, well, let's get you a therapist, let's have you see somebody, wrong. Like, yes, medications will help you, but you need to talk to somebody to get through the dirt and the grime of why you got to this point or why this is happening to you or where does it come from, you know? If you don't do that, the medication is not going to be enough. It's never enough.
I and this was all going on. I was taking it while before I was going into rehab, and then when I went into the facility and they broke me down, the doctors were like, "Let's go over your symptoms." Like, sitting there, symptom. They're like, "You're not depressed. You're bipolar." They're like, "What are you on right now?" I'm like, "I'm on Lexapro, and it's making me even angrier." They're like, "You need to get off that. That's not for you. We have something for you. You're definitely bipolar to a T. Bipolar 2, it's called. So we're going to get you on new medication."
Is bipolar 2 like the really bad one or the not as bad one? I don't remember.
And I gotta say, since for the first time in my 45 years of life, because I have severe anger issues too, severe, to the point where like I literally have no patience for anything or anyone, and I don't like people. And if things aren't going my way, I'm gonna get pissed off. It's just the way I was. I've been like that forever. Um, and I've done it with my friends, my family, everyone. I fly off the handle. So for the first time, finally getting on this medication, I was like, oh my, I mean, it took a week or two to get in, but I was in the facility, so I had no reason to get mad. But I was like, wow, like I just let things roll off my back. I've never in my life just like let things roll off my back, be okay with certain things not going my way. Like usually
I will say, as someone who lived 30 something years of not being diagnosed with ADHD and then finally having a doctor say I have ADHD, acknowledging it, getting medication for it, you literally the relief you feel of finally feeling like you're not a crazy person because that's what it feels like. It feels like you're a psychopath. It feels like you're crazy. It feels like you're off the walls. It feels like everybody thinks you're a weirdo. And then when someone finally validates that actually you are normal, you just have these extra things going on, it is the most validating thing ever. So I'm sure when he finally got told, like, yeah, bro, you got bipolar, he was like, whoa, I get it now.
when things don't go my way, I get really angry and I take it out on my friends or my family. Um, yeah, the anger issues that I have was insane. Like I would before I was on the medication, and the reason I would take it out on Brittany is unfortunately she's the one I come home to at night, right? So during the day, and like I would leave, drive through the day. If I go to the grocery store, somebody pissed me off at the grocery store, somebody pissed me off at the DMV, somebody cut me off, right? And instead of solving those problems in the moment and being okay with it, I would store all this anger up throughout the day. And then guess what? I go home for dinner, and who's in my target line? Brittany. She didn't do anything. I'm just so angry with my anger issues that I would just take it out on her. And it was not fair. And I knew what I was doing. Now, mind you, the drugs were affecting me too at the same time. And if people don't know, with cocaine, the next day is the worst. Like you feel like absolute like you feel at the bottom of the barrel. You have zero serotonin. You are just angry and depressed. Anybody who's done cocaine will tell you that. The next day is brutal. It's weird why we do it for 2 hours of fun, and the next 48 hours is misery. But we do it. And unfortunately, and the only time that Brittany and I really have
I can't imagine being bipolar and doing cocaine. Bipolar and cocaine, that sounds like the worst combination on the actual planet.
ever gotten angry is the next day after a bender for me. That's the only time I've ever had a shouting match. I've never done a sober shouting match with Brittany ever. But unfortunately, I was doing drugs so much that it was a lot.
Right, and that your natural irritability would turn into outright anger.
So I already have anger issues without the cocaine. Then you throw cocaine on there. Then you throw alcohol on there. Then you throw Lexapro on there. This was a fucking recipe for disaster. Like all these things. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know what was going on. Taking all that shit, it was not doing well.
All right. I don't know if there's more for that, um, but yeah, like it's just one of those things where I really hope that he is genuinely getting the help that he needs. I really hope that he's still seeing a therapist that because I can't emphasize enough, like, if you find the right therapist, which can be hard to get to that point, but finding the right therapist can like genuinely change your life and can make a lot of things make more sense, can really give you the right coping skills to get through a lot of the pain that you're going through. And I really hope that it's so hard to believe somebody that has behaved a certain way for so long and has been so vile and awful to their partner on TV, off TV, has been horrible to their friends, has been horrible to fans, has been horrible to everybody and their fucking mother. Okay. And also, it's really hard because this person got gratification, got positivity from his behavior because when you're on reality TV, you're getting joked on and paid attention to and stuff, and it's like you're getting some type of affirmation from your shit behavior, you know? And so it's kind of like, well, everybody loves me. I mean, everybody hates me, but also everybody finds me entertaining and like, but I'm kind of funny, but I'm kind of this and that. And then you have Brittany who loves me, but also this. And I just hope that he continues to also state that like the downfall of their marriage was not Brittany. Like Brittany's behaviors were based off of his behaviors. And I hope he acknowledges that. I hope he acknowledges that like any behavior that Brittany gave me was based off of my behavior that started. And I hope he understands. I think a lot of people that have partners that have um mental disorders, have partners that are neurodivergent, that have partners that have gone through addiction, all these things. I hope you guys understand, like, and take a step back of like, how did my behavior like how is it affecting the other person? Like that's a lot of the things I've realized through like neurodivergency and through people that I know in my life with addiction. If you have a partner that doesn't experience those things, you do have to do a lot of combinations and a lot of conversations about triggers, about conversations that are triggering, about behaviors that are triggering in order to avoid a lot of conflict. And it's not because you want to avoid conflict at all. It's that you want to avoid the escalation of the conflict. It's like the conflict needs to stay down here, not way up here. You know what I'm saying? So I just, I don't think Brittany and Jax are ever going to get back together again, obviously. I hope that Jax gives Brittany everything that she needs and just calls it good. I hope they don't drag out a fucking divorce. But also California, just because they're still not divorced, that doesn't mean anything bad's happening to the divorce. I just know that in California, it takes like 6 months, like a year or something to actually officially get divorced. So just because they're not officially divorced yet, that doesn't mean anything. Um, that doesn't mean that their experience being divorced is going horrible. It's just California. Um, but I hope that in the divorce, I hope he is like, nope, here you go. You get what you get. You need what you need. Here you go. Sounds great. Sounds awesome. Here's child support and calls it good and just leaves her alone. Just leave her alone. And I hope that Brittany also sets very clear boundaries that unless it has to do with our child, there is no reason to communicate. There is no reason to talk. There is no reason to be in each other's lives intimately in any way unless it has to do with our child. If it has to do with our child, that's a different story. And I hope she sticks with that because I think that's good for her. And I also think that's good for him. He needs to know what the fuck a boundary is. Let me tell you right now, this man needs to know what a boundary is because God knows he does not know what the hell that is. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I literally tried making it 4 times. So there's that. And I'll repost it so that way the replay crew can see it. As always, go to links in my bio and you can see the different groups and organizations that I support and that you can support too. I'm also shouting out trans children that are Girl Scouts that are doing Girl Scout cookies. So if you would like to order Girl Scout cookies and you don't have anybody to order them from, or you do and you just want to get more, go click the link in my bio and you can see the Girl Scout cookie link where you can pick a child and buy Girl Scout cookies from them. And they're all trans youth. So you're supporting them. So I appreciate you.